Hi friends, hi third graders. Welcome back to our read aloud of James and the Giant Peach. We ended it where all of the insects and James were going to sleep on top of the peach. They felt that it would be safer than going inside because the peach keeps going up and up and up higher in the air. All right, or in the sky. So here we go, chapter 27. James Henry Trotter and his companions crouched close together on top of the peach as the night began closing in around them. Clouds like mountains towered high above their heads on all sides, mysterious, overwhelming kind of looks. Gradually it grew darker and darker, and then a pale three-quarter moon came up over the tops of the giant clouds. It casted an eerie light over the whole scene. The giant peach was swaying gently from side to side as it was floating along, and the hundreds of silky white strings going up towards its stem were beautiful in the moonlight. So also was the great flock of seagulls that was overhead. There was not a sound anywhere. Traveling upon the peach was not in the least like traveling in an airplane. The airplane comes clattering and roaring through the sky, and whatever might be lurking secretly up there in the great cloud mountains goes running for cover at its approach. That's why people who travel in airplanes never see anything. But the peach, ah yes, the peach was a soft, stealthy traveler making no noise at all as it was floating along. And several times during that long silent night ride, high above the middle of the ocean in the moonlight, James and his friends saw things that no one else has ever seen before. Once, as they drifted silently past a massive white cloud, they saw on the top of it a group of strange, tall, wispy-looking things that were about twice the height of a normal, ordinary man. They were not easy to see at first because they were almost as white as the cloud itself. But as the peach sailed closer to it, it became obvious that these things were actually living creatures, tall, wispy, shadowy, white creatures who looked as though they were made out of a mixture of cottony wool or candy floss or with thin white hairs. I wonder what they are. Ooh, the ladybug said. I don't know if I like this at all. Shh, James whispered back. Don't let them hear you. These must be cloud men. Cloud men? They murmured, huddling closer together for comfort. Oh dear, oh dear. I'm sure glad I'm blind. I can't see them, the earthworm said, or I probably would be screaming. I hope they don't turn around and see us, Miss Spider stammered. Do you think that they would eat us? The earthworm asked. They would eat you, the centipede answered, grinning. They would cut you up like a salami and eat you in thin little slices. The poor earthworm then began to quiver all over in fright. What are they doing? The old green grasshopper whispered. I don't know, James said softly. Let's watch and see. The cloud men were all standing in a group, and they were doing something peculiar with their hands. First, they would reach out, all of them at once, and grab handfuls of cloud. Then they would roll these handfuls of cloud with their fingers until they turned into what looked like large white marbles. They would then toss these marbles over one side and quickly grab more bites or bits of the cloud and start all over again. It was all very silent and mysterious, and the pile of marbles beside them were growing larger and larger, and soon there was a truckload of them at least next by them. So it kind of sounds like big snowballs. They must be absolutely mad, the centipede said. There's nothing to be afraid of up here. Be quiet, you pest, the earthworm whispered. We shall be eaten if they see us. But the cloud men were much too busy with what they were doing to have noticed the great peach floating silently up behind them. Then the watchers on the peach saw that one of the cloud men raising his long wispy arm above his head, and they heard him shouting, All right, boys, that's enough. Get the shovels. And all the other cloud men immediately let out this strange, high-pitched whooping of a joy and started jumping up and down and waving their arms in the air. They then picked up these enormous shovels and rushed over to the pile of marbles and began shoveling in them as fast as they could over the side of the cloud into space. Down they go, they all chanted as they worked. Down they go, hail and snow, freezes and sneezes and noses will blow. Those are hailstones, James whispered excitedly. They're making hailstones, and now they're showering them down onto the people in the world. Hailstones? The centipede asked. Well, that's just ridiculous. This is summertime. You don't have hailstones in the summertime. They must be practicing for winter, James told him. I don't believe it, shouted the centipede, raising his voice. Look closely, you can see the cloudmen. Shh, the others all whispered, and James said softly, For heaven's sake, centipede, don't make so much noise. The centipede roared with laughter. These imbeciles, they can't hear anything, he cried. They're deaf as doorknobs. You watch. And before anyone could stop him, he had cupped his front feet to his mouth and began yelling at the cloudmen as loud as he could. Idiots! He yelled. Nincompoops! Half-wits! Blunderheads! What on earth do you think you're doing over there? The effect was immediate. The cloudmen jumped around as if they were just stung by a big wasp. And when they saw the great golden peach floating past them, not 50 yards away in the sky, they gave a yelp of surprise, dropped their shovels to the ground, and when they stood there with the moonlight streaming down all over them, they were absolutely motionless, like a group of tall, white, hairy statues staring and staring at the gigantic fruit as it went sailing by. The passengers on the peach, all except the centipede, sat frozen with terror, looking back at the cloudmen and wondering what was going to happen next. Now you've done it, you pest, was whispering the earthworm to Centipede. I'm not afraid of them, shouted the centipede, and to show everyone once again that he wasn't, he stood up to his full height and started dancing around, making insulting signs at the cloudmen with all 42 of his legs. This evidently infuriated the cloudmen beyond belief. All at once, they spun around and grabbed great handfuls of hailstones and rushed to the edge of the cloud and started throwing them at the peach, shrieking with fury all at the same time. Look out, cried James. Quick, lie down, lie flat on the deck. It was lucky they did, because a large hailstone can hurt you as much as a rock or a lump of lead that's thrown hard enough. And my goodness, how these cloudmen could throw. The hailstones came whizzing through the air like bullets from a machine gun, and James could hear them smashing against the side of the peach and burying themselves in the peach flesh with a horrible noise. Plop, 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 and then ping, ping, ping as they bounced off the poor ladybug's shell because she couldn't lie flat as the others. And then crack, as one of them hit the centipede right on the nose, and crack again, and as another one hit him somewhere else. Ow, he cried, ow, stop, stop, stop. But the cloudmen had no intention of stopping. James could see them rushing about on the cloud like a lot of huge hairy ghosts, picking up hailstones from the pile, dashing on the edge of the cloud, hurling the hailstones at the peach, dashing back again to get more, and then, when the pile of stones was all gone, they simply then started grabbing handfuls of the cloud. And as many more were made, much bigger ones were made now, many of them were the size of cannonballs. Quickly, cried James, down the tunnel, or we're going to be wiped out. There was a rush for the tunnel entrance, and half a minute later, everybody was safely downstairs, inside the stone of the peach, trembling with fright and listening to the noise of the hailstones as they came crashing against the side of the peach. I'm a wreck, groaned the centipede. I'm wounded all over. Serves you right, said the earthworm. Would somebody kindly look and see if my shell is cracked, the ladybug said. Give us some light, shouted the old green grasshopper. I can't, wailed the glowworm. They broke my bulb. Well, put another one in, the centipede said. Just be quiet a moment, said James. Listen, I do believe they're not hitting us anymore. They all stopped talking and listened. Yes, the noise stopped. The hailstones were no longer smashing against the peach. We've left them behind. The seagulls must have pulling us away from danger. Hooray, hooray, let's go up and see. So cautiously, with James going first, they all climbed back up the tunnel. James poked his head out, looked all around. It's all clear, he said. I can't see him anywhere. And that brings us to the next chapter that we'll enjoy tomorrow, chapter 28. So we'll have to find out what happens when they all go above. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.